Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of the Pulse Pod Season 2. Joining me this week, we have Jill Simmonds from Hair Game 2 and Stephen Poxon, author of the upcoming book Poolies at Heart. Hello, guys, how are we tonight?
Yeah,
Good
good, thank
evening.
you. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And coming up, we have Nicky Featherstone's testimonial on Saturday against Leeds United XI, the nature of which we still haven't it still hasn't been revealed, I should say. We'll see how that goes on Saturday. We've also got Stephen's upcoming books I mentioned earlier on, coming out on Monday, the 28th of July, this coming Monday. And we also have the Rangers game, which we played last Sunday after the release of our last episode. And a very good comeback victory, I think it's fair to say. It may well have been against, as Stephen mentioned before we came on, the 12-year-olds. However, you know, any results are good results as long as we're playing well, and we looked pretty good in the second half. But we will get onto that later on. But firstly, we will speak about the testimonial on Saturday for a man who I think it's fair to say has proven himself to be an excellent servant of Hartlepool United. He's been here for many, many years now. I think it's 12 years. I think his testimonial's come a couple of years late, but we'll forgive them for that because he has finally got one. And Jill, we'll start with you. It's certainly deserved for a man who has given a lot of years to this club and through the good times and the bad times has been a very consistent presence in that midfield.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's just proved time and time again. And I think it sort of writes itself in the fact that the amount of managers he's had to play under, all of them have seen his value and seen his worth. And, he's been in that starting lineup so many times. He's third on the list and climbing higher. I think he's getting ever closer to that second spot now. The people who haven't got the quality wouldn't reach them numbers basically. So, and I know in his interview on the radio the other night, he was saying about how, that he owed the club and the club owes him. There's a bit of a mutual thing going on there, and they've sort of respected him and vice versa and whatnot. And sounds like he's a proper Pooley through and through now.
Absolutely. And Stephen, I imagine that you agree with most of the sentiments there. Just from your personal point of view, his impact on the club?
Yeah, certainly endorse what Jill said. I have to be honest, there have been times I'm a bit embarrassed to confess this now. Latterly, I've been a little bit critical because I've sometimes watched him and thought, well, move the ball forward, and he seems to go sideways. But to be really honest, that's the only criticism I have. And in addition to what Jill has said about you don't amass, what is it, 500 plus games at professional level, and all those managers who each come with a different agenda, you don't amass that sort of career without some decent level of footballing skill. But also, I think any club, whether it's Hartlepool United or Manchester United, you need those solid professionals in the dressing room, let's say, because of what they bring, the maturity, the level head to speak about. When things are going bad, he's not one to panic or on the pitch and off the pitch. I think that's the double acknowledgement we want to give to him. His playing career speaks for itself. It's a matter of record. But I'm certain, beyond anything any of us know, his influence off the pitch to youngsters, strangers coming into the club, loanees and that, probably helping managers along the way to find their way and give them a little bit of counsel as well. So, yeah, all of that.
Yes, and as we said earlier on, or as you said, Jill, earlier on, he is third in the list. These stats come courtesy of inthemagcrowd.co.uk. He's third on the list with 462 games, which is an outstanding achievement, certainly in this modern era of football. That includes 426 starts and 36 off the bench. He scored 28 goals. From his deep lying position, he's not really known as a goal getter. And to be fair to him, whenever he does score, they do tend to be let's say, excellently taken goals from a variety of positions as well.
Mm.
He signed on Halloween in 2014, so that's 11 years, not quite the 12 attributed to him. And other than that strange period in 2023 where we released him and then realised we'd made a massive mistake and signed him back, he's been an ever present for the club virtually. He's been a part of that midfield, as we've said previously. He's consistently part of that midfield. And would it be fair to say the highlight of that run is that promotion? See, it sounds obvious to say, but that link up that he had with Gavin Holohan and Mark Shelton as part of that midfield three, that was sort of the best of Nicky Featherstone, because he had people alongside him who enabled him to carry out his abilities to the best that he could, and they made each other look better. They were an excellent unit in that midfield.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously they were affectionately known as the Wolf Pack. Um, but yeah, and I know like what Stephen's saying about the criticisms of his passing sideways and backwards. But if his teammates aren't running forwards, then you can't really pass the ball forward to them. Where with them three, like you say, the dynamic they had, it worked. It was just like that. The magic three it just ticked over really well, and it just absolutely worked perfectly that season.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. And I think also in say like, for example, the playoff final, you don't want to go into a game like that with youngsters, only youngsters, I should say. You need an experienced pro, and you need someone like Nicky, because in a game like that, as we know that game, if you lose your head when it's not working out or it looks a bit shaky, you've lost the game as well. So you need someone there to put his foot on the ball and say, look, it's okay, we're still in the game, we'll still do this, let's carry on, and to calm everything down. So yeah, that skill, his willingness to work with his colleagues, because I mean, if we just imagine the number of playing colleagues he must have worked alongside, and he's never really made a big deal of that. He's just got on with the job and fitted in with them, which is quite a skill in itself. In any walk of life, in any job, you keep changing your colleagues, and you are the one who stays put. That says an awful lot for you. So yeah, all those things and more.
Absolutely. And something else that it's worth noting as well, you just mentioned about people keeping their head. His disciplinary record, he's the most yellow cards he's got in a season is 7, which, considering the amount of games he play in a season, is a very, very good disciplinary record again in the modern day. And he's only been sent off 3 times in his entire time at the club. There was once in the relegation season in League Two, the first time we went down. There was once in the pandemic season that was cut short, and then there was once in the season we returned to League Two. But overall, as we've already mentioned, it's that availability that we've said about, players that have gone out where we may have regretted it, but at the end of the day, availability is a key aspect of that, and discipline comes into that as well.
There's got to be a remarkable level of fitness there, because I don't know how old he is, but with respect, he's not a youngster anymore. And he's still running. He's still moving around the pitch. He's still that kind of midfield authority. And you have to be fit to do that. So that's another compliment as well.
Yeah, sorry, Nicky. He's coming up 37, bless him. But yeah, there's the level of fitness, the level of discipline, whether he's actually got the armband on or not, I don't think it really matters. He seems to just instill that air of, midfield general, I suppose, like keeping everybody else, regardless whether he's wearing that armband or not. He's always communicating. He's always trying to drive things forward, pick lads up who are heads are down, etc. Yeah, and all that comes into it. I mean, yeah, his football skill is part of it, football, fitness, discipline, the whole lot, and he seems to tick every box.
Yeah, he said he's 37. He's 37 in September. As he said, again, it does speak to his level of consistency. Do you see him potentially? He is already a player coach. He assumed that role the season just gone. He played probably more than he expected to, given the state of the squad at the time. Do you think maybe this season it will be time for him, not necessarily to retire, because he will still play a part on the playing side, but do you think this is the season where we'll see him perhaps move back a bit like Anthony Sweeney did in his later days, where he just sort of moved into the coaching role gradually and stopped playing?
I think it all depends how the players we get in work, how that all, if he's needed in there, he'll go in. I think it's a bit unknown, a bit like last year. There was all this, people were writing him off saying, oh, he's going to be the coach more than the player. Yet when he came in, he played for most of the season. and he showed that he still, still had the quality on the pitch. So it may be down to players we've got, the other signings we've had, how Simon Grayson sees it all knitting together. And obviously the results on the pitch will be sort of one of the driving forces behind that. But if he's available, he's fit and he's ready to go, then why not?
Yeah, I agree. And I also think he comes across as not the sort of player who would just keep it going a season too long. I don't think he's got the ego to do that. Some players don't know when it's time to call it a day. And the team would suffer because of their ego and their pride. I think he's level-headed enough and modest enough to say, guys, my legs have gone. For the good of the team, I'm going to step back. I'll be around, but not every game. So I think we could trust him to make that decision and to know it in himself without having to be told.
Certainly. And before we came on air as well, we were speaking about his radio interview with Radio Tees and Rob Law. And we mentioned the quote that he owes the club and the club owes him. It's that sort of mutual respect, with the exception of that weird 3-month period in 2023. And that has sort of developed both the player and the club in a sense. And does it feel fair, that quote? Does it feel fair that it's his sort of a mutual relationship that they've developed, in that neither could exist without the other, really? In their
Yeah, that's
current
it.
guise, I should say.
I don't think we would have seen him at Pools that long if there wasn't that mutual sort of relationship. Obviously, it was different owners back then, and he's had to, like we were saying, working with all them players he must have. But he's also worked with different owners, all the managers he's had, all the different staff at the club. He's always had that sort of built relationship over the years, and yeah, there's been sort of, thankfully, the club have been good to him, and he's sort of paid the club back himself as well.
I mean, to be fair, Stephen, given some of the different managers and owners that he's worked under, you look at the likes of Gary Coxall, for example, in the olden days. You look at the short-lived managers like Dave Jones and Richard Murray that he's had to put up with as well, for want of a better word. Paul Hartley being another. It's taken some going to keep your head through all of that and keep going, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Funnily enough, it reminds me in some ways, in those qualities, of Brian Honour, because I think it's fair to say Brian Honour, in his own way, went through similar experiences, different managers. Some managers he liked more than others. Let's just leave it there. As a professional, as a footballer, and someone who represented Hartlepool United, those things he left off the pitch. So when he ran onto the pitch, he played for the fans, he played for the club. The fact that Joe Bloggs was manager one week and wasn't the next it was not reflected in their play. Both of them, I should say, but we're talking about Nicky here. And there is a kind of real level of respect there for that professionalism, to say, look, I can't help what's happening in the boardroom, the chairman, the owners, the manager. In a sense, that's out of the player's control. I'm running on that pitch. I'm wearing the badge. Those fans have paid to see me. That's where my 90 minutes lives, and the rest is it's going to be worked out, and it does work out, all kinds of deals and what have you. But all credit to him, because he's consistently done that through all kinds of times at the club. He must have despaired at times, but it never showed, and that's the biggest attribute, I think, for a player like him.
Yes, and putting him in the category as with players such as Brian Honour sharing the qualities that he has, it is the highest compliment that you can pay as someone who is held in such esteem by fans of the club, such as Brian Honour. You look at the likes of Richie Humphries as well, for example, who again has had a long service with the club. Would you potentially put him in sort of like the top, I would say, top 5, top 10, not necessarily for quality, but simply in terms of like club legends, club servants, as you were, not necessarily on the longevity or on the quality, but just in terms of his all-round character, his commitment to the club. You can put his quality in there if you wish as well. But there aren't too many others that have that combination of service to the club, the quality they've shown, the part they've played in success. You look at the promotion season; not everyone's had a season like that. Is it fair? Whereabouts would you potentially put him? You know, if it's too difficult to give you a specific, you know, you can say top five, top 10 if you want. I'll let you sit on the fence a little bit.
But he's definitely up there with absolutely everything you've just said, all them different attributes. He's ticked the box. Yeah, he might not be the best at everything, but harken back to his interview last week, he even said, you know, you can like me, you know, football's full of opinions. You can either like how I play or you dislike how I play. But every time I run on that pitch, I'm doing it for the club, you know, I'm doing it for the fans. And like you say, to sort of keep his head through all the troubled times and not come out publicly and say anything and keep it
Yeah.
all very disciplined on and off the pitch and everything else. Yeah, he's got to be up there totally.
Mm. In that context, and I'm jumping the gun a bit now. I think there's a reasonable comparison to John McGovern, not in terms of achievements or fame even, as I'm sure Nicky himself would acknowledge, but in terms of that legendary status of a reliable player. And now, in my opinion, it's only my opinion for whatever that's worth, I never rated John McGovern as a particularly skillful player, not like silky skills or creative player, but I'd want him in my team every time. I remember Brian Clough quoted, he said when he was on the coach going to an away game, Clough, he would stand at the top of the coach and look down the seats and he would count the number of hearts in the seats, like heart quality sort of commitment, what we're talking about here. And he said he wasn't that bothered about skill and silky performances. He said, Cloughie always said, if I saw on that coach 12 hearts, he said, I knew we'd win. And John McGovern was one of those. And in his own context of Hartlepool United, that's where I would put Nicky as well. You could look at him on the coach and say, yeah, I'm going to get everything from this guy this afternoon. He won't let me down. There's a heart. And well, we're not going to argue with Brian Clough, are we? I think that is a fair definition of how to win a game.
Certainly. And as you say, who's to argue with what Brian Clough says, even at the start of his career, which, you know, gets forgotten a bit, to be fair, in general footballing terms, because his spells at Derby, his spells at Nottingham Forest is less than successful spell at Leeds, shall we say. But again, Pulse is where he started it all, and you need characters such as you say, John McGovern, Nicky Featherstone in the dressing room because it does drive the team on. The club account have posted a few videos, pictures, reminders, shall we say, of Nicky Featherstone's time at Hartlepool United. Is there anything that sticks in your mind? Maybe it's a goal that he scored or a moment in a game potentially that he changed the game for us? Is there, you know, like say, two or three moments that you sort of remind you of Nicky Featherstone?
I think one of the moments, I don't know if it's been shown or not this week, um, not necessarily changed the game, but I think he actually did show a little bit of emotion on the pitch for once. Was he was getting quite a bit of a criticism. I think it was relegation season, to be fair. So it was rather negative around the place. He scored an equaliser against Stevenage and actually ran off to the stands, cupping his ears, you know, as if to sort of say, "Where's all the negative, you know, the negativity now?" And it actually showed, like, this man cares about the club, you know.
Yeah.
It just for one of the, it was emotive. That was one of the times where you did actually see. I'm not saying you don't see it. You do sort of see it in a professional way, but you actually let that sort of emotion out.
Yeah, I have a vague memory of Stevenage at home. Was that around Easter time, if I remember rightly? Was that like a Monday, Easter
Yeah,
Monday
it was
game?
Easter Monday. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I vaguely remember that. Yeah, Stephen, anything for you?
Well, funnily enough, it was either yesterday or today, I can't remember. I was watching, I think he scored a goal against York City. I can't remember the season, can't remember. We were wearing red. I do think that's correct. Well, I might be mistaken, but anyway, I watch too much YouTube. That's my problem.
Fair
So
enough.
Goal blazing one.
he scored a goal. I think it was quite a long range shot. A cracker of a goal, really. And if he'd been Brazilian, we would have been raving about that goal. And there again, I think on the video, I think it was against York City, he ran around with his arms up and he was really thrilled to bits. not a man to show much emotion. Just get on with the game, really. That's not a criticism of him. That's just his temperament. But when he scored that goal, it was like, I think the caption on YouTube said, a celebration to match the goal. And I thought, yeah, it was a good goal. Yeah, have a run around. I'd have done that if I could score goals like that, which I can't, by the way.
I know there has been one shown this week. I think it was against Halifax. So I don't know if that was
That's
a
the
game.
goal. That's the goal that I would always remember,
Halifax.
like
Yeah,
specifically.
the Halifax game, they're wearing the red shirt.
Oh, sorry, it wasn't York. Sorry to
Was it
all
that
York
one?
fans.
They have showed the York one from a couple of seasons ago when he was
All
on the
right.
end of Cookie's thing. But
Yeah,
that
that
was
is
only
another one actually, because I was in the crowd for both
Yeah.
of those games. The York one.
Great
I mean,
day.
to be fair, the York one is also notable for one of Jake Hastie's only contributions in a pull shed. To be fair to him, it was an excellent finish. Like the pass from Callum Cook and the finish from Hastie was excellent. But going back to Featherstone's, it was such a cultured touch. Like to take it past the defender and then just sort of almost prod it past the keeper. But yeah, it was just it just capped off the day to that point. I mean, I know we conceded in like the 95th minute or something, but at that point it was 3-0. We were absolutely it was dreamland. The fact he did it as well, because I've always said this when it comes to players scoring goals, the fact he did it at our end as well. It always makes the goals better, doesn't it? There's no reason for it. But like when you score a goal at your own end and you see the fans behind the goal, and obviously we were sat to the side as well, and you obviously the player goes racing towards the fans, the goal racing towards the corner flag. It just makes the goal look so much better. And I don't know why. The Halifax one again, as you mentioned there, that one again, I was there for that one. I think we took 2,000 that day. It was a Saturday, and in September, I think. And honestly, it was a absolute. It was a cracker, but I just remember everyone just looking at each other, thinking Featherstone, because at that point, his career, he hadn't scored that many at that point. Like he wasn't obviously a prolific goal scorer, and not only that, he did that with his left foot.
I think that's the goal I'm talking about. It wasn't York City.
He pinged it into the top corner, and I think it kissed the bar.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And it was a red
goal.
kit, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's left foot. I mean, he's used his both feet, but I think he's left-footed predominantly. So
yeah, I've always thought he was right-footed, but I could be wrong.
You never tell. That's it. He's both feet. He's so good with both feet. So
yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not saying you have to be world class with both feet, but I've always thought it's a bit weird that footballers can't kick with both feet. Like you always hear about people, like you can have a weaker foot, but you shouldn't have a weak foot because if you're a professional footballer, you should be able to kick a ball with a foot. Even if you can't pick out a 50-yard ball with your weaker foot, like you still should be able to pass the ball 10 yards with your weaker foot. Like, it's thingy. But again, to the standard that Nicky Featherstone seems to have with both feet, you can't complain about that at all. Another one that the socials put on, I think, was the goal against Maidenhead, I think it was, where he took it towards the byline and chipped the keeper from a stupid angle. If you remember that one.
He scored 2 in that match. Was that the one where he scored 2?
I think he did, yeah. He's only ever scored 2 in a match for Pools once. I think it probably is. I think it is that one.
Maidenhead, was it?
Yeah, Maidenhead at home, yeah. I think it was August time, that one. Yeah, but that was also, like I say, he doesn't score sort of tap-ins, does he? Because he's never in the 6-yard box, obviously with his position on the pitch. But he always seems to score stupid goals. I think he scored one against Morecambe as well, towards like sort of New Year's time, like at the end of December, where we went 3-0 up and we only just won 3-2. But again, that one was, I think, like edge of the box, sort of curled in territory, and he just doesn't score bad goals, does he?
Actually, when you come to think of it like that, there's some nice ones there, yeah.
Absolutely, yes. I'm just scrolling through the socials. There's the one at Halifax, and as you say, we were playing in red that day. And again, he just goes off running towards the fans straight away. Pretty much all the players do, to be fair. But again, the 2,000 that were there that day, you've got the however many were at York. I'm going to estimate it's about 700 or 800, given the space. Might have been 1,000 there that day, but that was the first time that we were at the new York Stadium, I think, if I remember rightly. That was our first game next to the left Bootham Crescent before that. And it was just fantastic. It was brilliant. There's the goal against York. I mean, yeah, I'm just watching it again there. I say just a lovely little flick through the keeper's legs, if you like. And it's that quality that you would expect from a striker, not a midfielder, to know what finish to be able to execute.
Yeah, good stuff.
He knows how to turn a man.
Well, absolutely, yeah. There's one there where he's drilled a shot through orange shirts. I don't know if it's Barnet, maybe. So wait, whenever I can't remember that one, but he sort of like it's almost a toe poke from 20 yards. It's a strange one, but I can't remember who that was against. I can't remember that goal. I don't like not being able to remember goals. Yeah, it's from like just inside the box. It was a good finish. But yeah, anyway, moving on. And it's gonna be a I was gonna say an emotional day on Saturday. I don't know if that's the right word, but it is gonna be probably an emotional day for Nicky Featherstone himself. And a lot of fans who I know aren't particularly bothered about the rest of the home games for reasons that we don't really need to go into because it's quite obvious to many people listening, I would imagine. But they're going on Saturday just to reward his service to the club and to thank him for his service to the club, even despite any other issues they may have with the club in general. And yet again, it says something about the character of the man as well. And Jill, you were saying before we came on air about what Hair Game 2 were doing for the testimonial on Saturday about the initiative you set up before the game.
Yeah, there's part of the usual match day sort of setup. They invite kids along. There's what they call a junior poolie package available. So I thought this year, rather than sponsoring a player, that we would try and get involved in Nicky's testimonial. I'm partly doing it as well, sort of personal reasons. It's sort of in memory of my dad that I do put the money into doing something like this every year. And the fact that he would have watched Nicky playing in the first half of his time at pools as well. So yeah, so we did a little competition, and it was to send messages in to Nicky, congratulating him on his testimonial. So we had a good selection of little messages from the kids, and you can imagine they're all absolutely gorgeous. Some of them have drawn pictures, some of them have got the photos took with him. And it's almost open to boys and girls because part of my, I'm Hair Game 2 ambassador, and we're all trying to get more women and girls to come to Vic. But for me, it's about everyone being together. So it's educating the boys, the girls, and boys and men, girls and women can go as well. So I've never sort of just made it about just the girls. So it was open to boys and girls going. So we've got 14 coming along, and they'll get the full little package. They'll get a little tour. They'll get to meet the players. And then there'll be the flag bearers, so they'll be welcoming the teams out, waving the flags and things. And then at half time, they get a chance to be on the pitch and take some penalties. And I'm sure Hangus will be there cheering them on as well. So a lot of them are absolutely over the moon. When I told them all that they'd won, parents are over the moon. A lot of them, are fans of Nicky, and they're just really grateful to sort of take a little bit more part in the day than just being there and watching it. There are lots of excited little kids.
Absolutely, and it's a wonderful initiative to get youngsters through. I'm assuming that these are youngsters sort of are they in primary school, these youngsters, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
it's sort of aged between 5 to 12,
Yeah,
roughly.
so there's a lot of scope for them to get sort of invested in the club and invested in football and to get them along for regular fixtures as well, I imagine.
That's it. Yeah, and a lot of them have put their messages in that they've been since they were 3 or 4 years old. So Nicky's been there and all the time they've been there and watched him. And like you say, you've got that linchpin that some player that recognise year in, year out and things like that. So it's nice to hear the perspective of a child. It's all right us watching it as adults. I've supported the club for I'm not going to dare say how many years, Stephen, but for a long time, nearly 40 years, etc. But yeah, I mean, some of the messages have been really sweet, and one of them, a little girl called Esme, had put on, you've been in this club longer than I've been alive.
You know
and
what? I saw that.
I was like,
I saw that, and I was going to bring it up, and I thought, how must
yeah.
he be feeling reading that?
No, bless her. And no, but that's he's got kids himself. He knows what kids are like. You know what I mean? It was just hearing the messages from their perspective as well as us, we can say our congratulations or whatever. Yeah, it was been really good, and there's been some really cute drawings and pictures and stuff sent in. So no, it should be a good day for the kids.
Absolutely. And hopefully all goes well on Saturday. Hopefully a nice thumping victory over whatever team leads are sending up, whether they're 12-year-olds or, whatever else. And it should be a good day for everyone concerned, fans, Nicky himself, the club as well. And we all look forward to that. Now, moving on to we'll go with Rangers next. So the game against Rangers on Sunday. Stephen, you were up for that one from the far-flung reaches of the south. St Albans, if I remember rightly, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
So a bit of a trek there for friendly against Rangers under 12s. And, well, it didn't look like under 12s in the first half, did it? From what we've been saying before we came on air, they looked very sharp, the Rangers side, I think it's fair to say, and our side looked a bit disjointed, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, that was my impression. I mean, all credit to Rangers. Those lads were good. And a friend of mine is a Rangers fan. I sent him a text during the game. I said, "You've got some really good youngsters here. Nice style of play. Nice commitment to the game, considering it was only a friendly." But you're spot on there, Jack. The first half, it was disjointed. I thought, do any of these players know each other? What's going on? And it was worrying. Actually, I was sitting there thinking, "Oh heck, this is worrying," considering it was a youngsters team we were playing. However, I don't know what Simon Grayson did because I'm not in the changing room at half time, but substitutions, change of format, um, change of tactics, maybe, I don't know. And within, I would say the first, say after 12, 15 minutes, you could definitely see Pools were getting the game, getting hold of it, and somehow managed to find the confidence and the superiority to then start taking the game to Rangers, and it made all the difference. And that fragmented first half, I still can't understand it because there was a number of decent players on the pitch, but they didn't seem to know each other. And maybe that's inevitable with new signings. That's probably normal. And I want to bear in mind as well that Simon Grayson has only had 5 minutes to put that squad together. They're probably still strangers. They've had a few training sessions. So all credit to Simon Grayson to come out with that second half. I was talking to, who was it? Ernie Welsh, friend of mine. He used to go and watch pools in the 40s and the 50s when a man called Fred Westgarth was managing. A little bit before my time, I hasten to add. And Ernie was telling me Fred's biggest ability as a manager was to change something at half time. He had this skill of knowing what was going wrong and how to put it right. Now, I don't know anything about Fred Westgarth, but it seemed to me, when I was there on Sunday, I was thinking Simon's done exactly the same. He spotted what's wrong and he spotted what it needs to be put right. And when you're dealing with a brand new squad, and he's only been manager 2 minutes, hasn't he, himself, to pull that off at half time, to spot the problem and to find a remedy, then score 3 goals, that is real, quite reassuring, actually. So I don't know how Simon would feel about that comparison with Fred Westgarth, but it's meant as a compliment. That particular point of the game, brilliant.
Yeah, you mentioned the change there sorry, Joe, you mentioned the change in the, I think it was around about the hour mark, wasn't it? I think when the subs came on after Campbell had equalised, and he went to a back four, I think. He went to the 4-2, I think 4-2-3-1 it was. You had the trialist Donaldson playing in behind Alex Reid, and then it went to a flat back four with the overlapping winger and the overlapping fullback, I should say, as well. Yeah. And Jill, it reaped its rewards. We were speaking about Alex Reid's goal before recording here, and I've got to say, it's one of the best headers I've seen for quite some time. He angled it over the keeper quite beautifully. And I think you had a very good view from, I think, the Cyril Knowles stand of the cross from Stevenson, first of all, and then that header.
Like them changes. Steve was just up and down that wing once they made them changes. So that was brilliant to see, different him getting up there. But yeah, the header, the cross and the header, he just knew how to glance it. He knew what way to put on it. He jumped at the right time. But like we were saying, he's an experienced man. He knows what he's doing. He can see a cross coming, and he's obviously judged it perfectly and glanced it over. And rather than it bouncing over the stand or hitting it out for a goal kick or whatever, no, it was perfectly glanced into the goal. So hopefully that's a good sign of things to come.
Yeah. My only sadness, and this is a personal thing, when Anthony Mancini was.
I knew you were going to bring up Mancini. At some point, your love affair with Mancini is well documented, Mr. Poxon.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, a bit obvious now. Everybody knows Mancini was fragile. probably too fragile for this kind of league. However, when he was on form, when he was fit, and I wish him all the best at Rochdale, incidentally, I was sitting there on Sunday thinking, oh, this is crying out for Mancini, this game. I could see him running rings around some of the young lads and supplying Alex Reid, because with great respect to the team that was out, I didn't see anyone of that kind of style. I'm not knocking anyone, but I'm talking about style. And it was a very workmanlike performance. Alex Reid's goal was very skillful. We've acknowledged that. But I was thinking, I'd love to see someone like Mancini there to play the game, as well as the hard work that the others were, putting in. It would have been a lovely blend, I think. So I won't say any more about him ever again.
It was good while it lasted with Anthony Mancini. As you say, he was very fragile. I don't think he's played a friendly for Rochdale yet, if I'm not mistaken. I know Manny D's putting away a goal or two a game, but I don't think Mancini stepped foot on the pitch yet. I mean, with regards to Manny D, while we're on the subject, did either of you think that I don't want to say he's not a loss, because he is. He absolutely is. Anyone who scored, I think, what is it, 42 goals in 2 seasons, something of that ilk. But the way that Danny Johnson and Alex Reid have come in, I know Alex Reid's only played, the last couple, but like the way they've come in and they've hit the ground running and scoring goals, I know it's not against the highest opposition, but is there signs there that we can recover after the loss of our top scorer for the last 2 seasons?
Yeah, definitely. Like you were saying, they're both experienced heads. They know where the goal is. Very different types of players, I think, from what I've seen. Yeah, I'd like to see maybe bring another type of forward in as well to complement them. But yeah, you just want your forward scoring goals at the end of the day, don't you? You just want them taking their chances, whether it's a friendly or not. Everyone's still finding their feet, like you were saying. But to see them score, I mean, Manny scoring loads for Rochdale, but again, that's just pre-season friendly. So they're, Johnson and Reid's heads are in the right place. They're doing their job, and hopefully we can sort of get a formation and a team behind them that can supply the quality into the box for them both.
Yeah, I loved Manny as a goal scorer. Everyone did.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and I'm not privy to anything at the club. I don't know anything inside information, so I don't mean that. I went to Braintree at the end of the season. I think it was Braintree, or somewhere around this neck of the woods anyway. And he was playing Manny. And I texted someone. I said, there's something wrong with Manny. I don't mean that critically. I mean, there was something off the pitch had gone wrong, I think. I'm not privy to anything. I can't prove that. But his body language, he's still a proven goal scorer. I'm not taking that away. He was a yard or two off. He didn't seem to want to run to the ball anymore. If he won a header, fine. If he didn't seem that bothered, really. And none of that's a criticism. I think something had happened off the pitch, behind the scenes. None of my business, but I think his head had gone. So the point I'm making there is we've lost a goal scorer, but I think for his sake as a human being, he needed to go. And I don't think we would ever have got the best out of him again. He something was amiss. So wish him all the best. Thank him for what he did, but I think he needed a fresh start.
Yeah, something definitely seemed to change in the second half of the season. Like you say, the whole body language changed. He didn't seem to be fighting for that second ball anymore. Like you say, it's not a criticism against him.
No.
Him as a player was skillful, did his job absolutely brilliantly. But like you said, something did change. And like where we're talking about Featherstone and stuff like that, something was affecting Manny's game. He did unfortunately allowed that was prominent. It did come prominent on the pitch as well, unfortunately. And like you say, it was probably the best thing for both parties that he just got a fresh start somewhere else. Unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a good comparison, because talking about Nicky Featherstone again, you never saw that with Nicky Featherstone. He just turned out, and you wouldn't have a clue what was going on in his life. It could be dreadful, could be brilliant, but on the pitch he was 100%, and that had gone from Manny's game. I saw him at, I think it's Aldershot as well, and it was the same thing. I thought he's still got the skill; he still knows where the goal is, but he wasn't running, and it was like he ran off the pitch at the end, like, well, that's over. So he needed to go for his sake.
Yeah, they're all fair comments. I think the incident with Luke Waterfall, that was around January time. I think that may have contributed potentially because you mentioned the second half of the season specifically. I think that may well have impacted. We don't know, as you say. It could have been anything. It could have been the contract talks, for example. It could have been anything. And in the end, you may well be right in that a change of scenery was needed. And I have no doubt he'll do very well at Rochdale. They've got some good players there. I do think Rochdale will probably finish top 7 minimum. May well finish top 4. They do look a very good side. And
Yeah.
if he's the one to fire them to that, then all the credit in the world to him because
Yeah.
there's no doubt he'll grab at least one against us. 2, 3.
That's a tradition.
Mancini will be fit. Mancini will be fit for 2 games of the season, and it'll be the games against us.
I'll tell you what, I wasn't going to mention him again, but seeing as you've done that, I've looked at my diary for 2026, and I'm actually cleared that weekend when Rochdale are at Pools, and I'm coming up for that one to see Pools, obviously, but also to welcome him back. So yeah, that's sad, isn't it? I've just admitted that on air.
Well, I was going to say that'll be a nice Easter Monday that for you then if you travel up. You're dropping off in dropping off in Scunthorpe on Good Friday on the way up, and have a week of it, bit of a road trip. But yeah, like I say, he's one of those, isn't he? He'll get you off your seat, and he'll also get the physio busy as well. Unfortunately for him, if he's able to get a sustained run, even if it's just for like a couple of months or so, just to get his fitness back up, you never know what could happen from there. But yeah, I mean, looking at the signings and how they've bedded in so far, we've spoken about Danny Johnson and Alex Reid potentially replacing Manny D. You've got Brad Walker's an interesting one because he's sort of got lost in the shuffle in terms of the signings coming in, given the signings we've made since. But the cliche always goes, you never go back to a club as a player or a manager. Can either of you see, Jill, I'll start with you. Can you see potentially it being a success? I mean, I must say, when he came on against Rangers on Sunday, he was playing some beautiful passes.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot better than when I'd seen him at the start of the pre-season against FC Hartlepool. Obviously, the gap between the levels was for all to see, where he was struggling. I think they made wholesale changes at half time, and when they were doing the warm down, he was shattered, for want of a better word. He was. So I think he just needed to get his fitness back up. But he's another player who's a little bit, can we keep him fit enough? What we've heard from other supporters of where he's played is, can you actually keep him fit and match ready? Because if you can, you've got a player there. We can say that about so many players. So it was nice to see an improvement in him on Sunday.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will continue.
Yeah. I think as well, to link this again also back to Nicky. I mean, we all sit in the stands. We hear things, and it doesn't take long at Hartlepool United for some really shocking abuse to come to the players. I mean, they've only got to play badly for 20 minutes, and you'd think they murdered someone. the abuse they take, and I can understand it. I'm not knocking the fans. It's passion and it's feeling, it's emotion, it's heat of the moment, and we're all there. But the point I'm making is Nicky's had that over the years. I've heard some horrible comments. I wouldn't talk to a dog like that, and he must have heard them. So the lad like Brad and so on, if your confidence isn't robust, if you're not that experienced to shrug it off, maybe that happened with Manny as well. You hear those things, and you're a human being on that pitch, and you've got to be nervous when the ball comes towards you. So there's those factors as well. Give players time to settle in. Bear in mind their lives are in upheaval. They've just changed jobs, changed clubs, etc. Maybe I'm speaking to myself. Well, I am. We need to be patient with them, let them bed into that squad, forgive them a little bit of settling in time. That's only reasonable, and then see how it goes. But to come out in, I don't know any level of any other job where you can be shouted at like that and expected to take it, and that's a factor for these lads.
The amount of resilience you must have to play, especially at this level, when we've bounced up and down between leagues and poor seasons and things. You're right, the amount of like abuse, and yeah, fair criticism. Supporters have every right to criticise if we don't feel like a player's given enough or whatever. But it's when that turns into that horrible abuse.
Yeah.
You know, like you say, you wouldn't say that to your dog. You wouldn't say it to anybody. You know, and it can be awful. So the amount of resilience that players need to have. And to be fair, is at any level, is the Premier League as well, because they get a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
It's amplified the higher you get, you know. Generally sort of across media, where at lower level you're hearing it from like literally from the stands where you're playing. I just remember the game when we weren't playing, I think it was Askey's last game, the amount of abuse that was getting thrown down at Joel Dixon was absolutely appalling. And it was a poor game. You know, Askey went and lost his job straight after that. Yeah. But I wouldn't dream of overstepping the line and hurling that type of abuse at players. And then the next game they have to pull that shirt on across that white line and give their all again.
Yeah. By which time their confidence is taken a knock. So it doesn't serve any purpose.
No, unfortunately.
Very true.
But yeah, fans have the right to criticise, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't, like you say, it's emotive, we're all passionate, we just want the best. But yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, I was at John Askey's last game. That was the game away at Oldham, if I remember, wasn't it?
It was Oldham, yeah.
Yeah, I was sat away off to the right, actually, as we were looking at the pitch. It didn't help that Mike Fondop tried to jump the stand after he scored, because I think everyone was a bit annoyed at him after that anyway. But I've always said that John Askey was the right man at the wrong time. And not only that as well, he was absolutely shafted with injuries. Like, it's very difficult to use injuries as an excuse in general, because I've always felt like, you should have the squad, etc. But the amount of players that went down injured in that period, we had a brilliant start to the season. Then Dodds and Mancini went down injured in the bank holiday long term. From that point onwards, there was just seemed to be an injury every game until it got to December and we only had like 13 players left or something like that. And I think he went on record as saying like, this is the worst I've ever had in terms of like luck with injuries. It was awful. And unfortunately, it all came to a head because fans had run out of patience, even though the injuries were there.
I personally, and it's all personal, it's my opinion. Everybody's got their opinion. I really like John Askey. I felt he was a very diplomatic manager, calm. He never lost his rag, never lost his cool, never lost his head. I felt he was a gentleman. He treated people with respect, everyone, as far as I could tell. And I'm delighted for him because, as you say, that his tenure was knocked for six by injuries. Now, what manager can help that? And I'm so pleased he's gone on with Truro to win. Did they win the league or the one?
They did. They went up via automatic title winning National League South in that really, really close title race as well. About six teams all in it in the final day, and he got over the line.
Yeah, he's done well. So I think he's got. Is it Cornwall's only National League club ever?
Yeah, ever. They're the only club ever to have reached this level.
Yeah, so it'd be nice. He's coming back. They're in our league now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
They'll be back. And I think, I'm hoping he gets a good reception because in context, he wasn't anywhere near as bad as it looked.
There's always so many factors involved in this. And like I say, it was just wrong time and very unlucky.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, as we've said previously on the podcast, it's the 29th of November when Truro make the journey up to the northeast. So John Askey will be coming back to us at that. And if anyone wants to do the novelty 7+ hour trip, it is in the middle of March on a Saturday the 14th. If anyone does that, good luck to you.
It'll probably be me.
I mean, to be fair, Stephen, I was going to say you're closer, but to be fair, you're east to west, so You
Yeah,
will be closer, but I don't think you'll be closer by that much, will you? I don't
it's
think.
about 5 hours
Yeah,
from
so
me.
like it's still quite a long way.
Yeah, same difference really.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, good luck to anyone. I mean, it could have been worse. I know we've got Yeovil opening day, but obviously Torquay were in the mix as well. We could have had Truro, Yeovil, and Torquay. You
Talkie.
know, and it's weird, really, because this is the most northern the division has been for some time. Like just in general, because you've got the likes of York, Gateshead, Carlisle, Morecambe if they stay afloat, and good luck to them, by the way. You've got Altrincham, Halifax, Rochdale. There's a lot of northern clubs. But then we've also got Truro, which is as far as we've ever been. Yeovil are still in the division. Like we've still
Yeah.
got like very
Eastleigh.
long trips.
Yeah. Eastleigh, Forest Green.
Yeah. Say it's basically divided into three, isn't it? You've got the northern clubs, the London clubs, and then the southwest clubs.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know,
Should have. Yeah, go on.
I persuaded my wife to come to a game, which is very unusual. We're going to Sutton United.
I thought you were going to say Truro. Oh, what
No,
a what a conversation that would have been. So, do you fancy going to Cornwall for a weekend? Oh yeah, that's great. What are we doing? Well,
no.
Truro
So
away.
we've got a friend who's a Sutton fan, and she wants to come to that. So my wife, because it's our friend, my wife and our friend are going to sit with the Sutton crowd. I'll be there, not with the Sutton people. Then we're
Gonna
going for
say.
a curry afterwards. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah, Sutton away is all right. It's your typical.
Nice
It,
club.
it, it's
It
it's your
was last
yeah, it's a
season.
typical community club.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Yeah, it
just
is.
wish they'd get their tannoy fixed.
that's a good point. Yeah, that is true. I was
I
really
think it was
hound in February.
last season. I think the Queen had just died, and they announced they were going to stand up after a certain time. I don't know, do something to acknowledge a certain time again. And most of us never heard the announcement, and it didn't look good because everyone else stood up and were acknowledging the passing of the Queen. And a lot of poolies sitting there thinking, what's going on? Everybody's standing up, including me. And then word got round, we're acknowledging the Queen's dead. But so that's what I remember of Sutton. The dodgy tannoy made us look bad.
Yeah, that'll have been. It was 2022 now, because it happened in the same year that I came back from Manchester when I was studying. And funnily enough, like when you go through the process of journalism, etc., whether you're in sport or not, you always go through the process of what happens, like in the process of the current monarch dying, because there's a big
Right?
process when it comes to the media. Like there are certain procedures and that you have to follow on the day, and then the 10 days afterwards, where it's basically all solemn and you can't really have any fun, for want of a better phrase.
Mm.
But like you could tell on the day that it happened, because of what the news was doing, that it
Yeah.
was quite serious at the time, because they were all in black, which you
Mm.
have to be, like
Mm.
as a matter of sort of procedure, I should say. There is another word, but I can't think of it. They were all in black. There was a lot of like thingy, but it was also a matter of, if it wasn't confirmed by a certain time, it had to wait till the morning. So I think it was announced at like sort of, was it 6 o'clock in the evening or something like that? It was
Yeah.
quite late on. If it
Yeah.
got into, I think, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I can't remember when the cut-off time is. If it got into that time, they wouldn't have been able to do anything until the next
Right.
day, because you
Right.
can't
Right.
announce it during the night. There's like it's like I say, it's a procedure that you have to go through, and
Like
there's
the
the
protocol.
yeah, protocol. That's what I'm trying to think of. Yeah, there's a name for it. I can't remember what the name is. It's like an operation, but
Yeah.
like everything that happens, like it plays out in the public, where there's the people in Westminster who go to see the coffin, etc. And there's plans and that drawn up for the funeral. Like it happens really quickly. It's like a 10-day process. But yeah, it was a bit morbid seeing that in real time. But as you say, it's Sutton. I think I remember vaguely something about that, because it was all over the socials at the time.
Yeah. And
Basically
they've
about,
got
the group of fans who wouldn't do anything for the Queen, and we were all like, well, you
that
know,
was me.
and say like, well, what are we supposed to do? Can't hear it. What you like,
No, I didn't
never
get the
been told.
announcement.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
you didn't get the memo, then can't
yeah,
really
No.
join in.
well,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, so in theory, the signings, getting back to the original point, the signings have looked pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Hopefully we see some push from the academy players as well. We've already spoken about Louis Stevenson. Campbell Darcy looked pretty tidy on Sunday as well, I think it's fair to say,
Yeah, he
at
did.
centre
Open one
back.
eye. Yeah.
He's on the same side as Louis Stevenson as well, so it was a nice little academy link
Yes.
up there.
Yeah.
If you count Brad Walker amongst that, I know he's in his second spell, but obviously he came through the academy as well, Scholar, when he was first here. There's a nice flavour into the academy there, and hopefully they can push the first teamers on as and when as well. And finally, Stephen, we're
Yeah.
on to the book. I know you've been waiting
Thank you.
for nearly an hour.
Nice to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Poolies at Heart, the last time you were on was in December time when you were, I think I remember you saying you were about to start proofreading, etc., and you were looking to send it off. You had the date
Yeah.
of September in your mind at that point, so clearly things have accelerated
Yeah.
since
Yeah.
then. And it is out on Monday the 28th of July from all good bookstores and all websites. So, Stephen, you know, in the process of writing the book, we've
Mm.
spoken before about the likes of Danny Wilson, for example, and Ronnie Moore, etc. So was there anything in particular that sort of stood out to you on your travels and on your odyssey, shall we say, of gathering all of these anecdotes together?
Yeah. One thing was outstanding above everything else, whether it was from fans or players or managers, everyone who contributed. Um, the common denominator in the whole book is uh, a love of Hartlepool United. Um, there's no naivety around. No one is saying everything is brilliant, and every time I go to watch Hartlepool, it's wonderful. No one said that,
Yeah, that's called a
but
lie, Stephen. That's why the one who told you that.
but but there's a love and an affection for the club from senior players, managers, Ronnie Moore, Danny Wilson, Graham Lee, these guys I interviewed, fans, and it's mainly a fan-based book, which I wanted it to be, and that came through in 100 ways. There's loads and loads of stories and memories and favorite games, favorite players, experiences at games. One man went to a game. This is in the book, so I won't tell you too much because I want you to buy it. But
Yeah, I'm not gonna try and dent your sales here. That's not the aim.
he went to a game when he was a kid. I think he was about 6 years old, and someone nicked his hat. He had a little woolly hat that his grandmother had knitted for him, blue and white hoops, like a tea cozy cap type thing. And he nicked it. Someone nicked it off him in the game. This was years and years ago, and he got home and his dad really told him off. He said, "You've lost that hat. Your granny knitted that for you." And he said, "Oh, I didn't lose it." He said, "Someone pinched it." So this was, I think I'm talking 50 years ago. And he wrote into me and he said, if anybody's reading your book now, and you were the one who nicked my hat when I was a little lad supporting Hartlepool, he said, "I'm willing to offer an amnesty." He said, I don't want the hat back. But he said, "Just tell me." And he said, then, it will reassure me I didn't lose it. It really was nicked. And that's a kind of funny little story. Then you've got stories from the old timers who remembered some of the grim times at the club when the stand was falling down. And one man was at a game, the ball hit the stand and a bit of wood fell on his head and really hurt him, bashed his head in. Which nowadays, that's a big problem. You've got people remembering Michael Maidens. Um, People who were close to him have paid their tributes. You've got Brian Honor, who was talking very frankly about Cyril Knowles and different managers and their relationship. You've got to buy the book to read that. But everything, like a thread through it, they're saying this was great. It was a great time on the terraces. Nicked me hat, I got hit by a bit of wood or whatever. Playing for the club, managing the club, even Danny Wilson was kind of got the feeling talking to him. He wishes he was still there at times. He kind of almost thinks it was an unfinished job. So yeah, everyone very realistic about Hartlepool United, but also a lot of affection. Then that is the abiding thread of the book. And the strapline of the book is celebrating Hartlepool United's finest. We all know it's tough times. We don't need to talk about that. But we also know we can celebrate this club because it's still in the fight, still there, lots of good. So that was the strong message. We love the club. We know it's not perfect, but hey, what is?
Well,
It's ours.
absolutely. Yeah, Jill?
Saying it's ours when he's saying everyone loves the club. I said, yeah, it's ours, despite what's going on.
Yeah.
I was
And
really,
Jill's in the book.
I was going to say, I was really pleased. Stephen messaged me, didn't you, last year, asking for personal and her game 2 stuff. So yeah, I think I spoke about my dad, and that's it. It's the connections people have over the years with their families, who took to their first game, and memories you've got. I mean, my first year as a season ticket holder, it was the 1991 season. So Brian Honor was well in there. It was Cyril Knowles. It was Alan Murray that took them up because Cyril was ill, and I thought it was brilliant. I was like, first season, got promoted. Ooh, this is good, isn't it? And then all these years later, the harsh reality of lower league football. But it's like you say, it's our club, and the journey and the players and the community on the stands, and
that's it. I think I'm still slightly embarrassed, Jill, about the first time I ever met you. I'd messaged you to say, would you like to say something in the book about the women's side of the club and the game? Very kindly came back to me, and then we met just before a game, shortly before a game, and I was holding a pie. I just bought that pie, and I thought, I'm not going to put this pie down for anyone, but I wanted to, say hello to you, greet you with some respect, but I'm holding this pie. So I remember distinctly putting my pie. There's a wheelie bin next to me where I was waiting for you to arrive. Put my pie on a wheelie bin. And all the time I was chatting to you about the club and the book, important subjects, I was secretly thinking, I hope nobody comes to that bin and nicks my pie, because I've just paid for that. So I apologise for that, Jill. I was half talking to you and half thinking about my pie.
Well, what's the football without having a pie? Yeah. So
thank
it does
you.
sound like the life of a football fan, to be fair.
But I couldn't find anywhere else to put it except on top of this wheelie bin. So,
There's a reason why a pie and a pint is a saying in football. Go downstairs for a pie and a pint.
Every time you see a pie, you'll think of me.
So no, the book has been a real privilege to write, because I've learned a great deal about the club. I've shared in that affection, the enthusiasm, never say die. And, obviously I'm hoping to sell copies because I've got to earn a living. That's what it boils down to in one way. But I can't wait. The publishers send me 10 free copies. That's standard, industry standard. I get 10 free copies to send to family and Christmas presents and that.
Lovely.
And I can't wait for that box to arrive, because I've never actually seen the book. I've never handled it. I know it's out there somewhere, but any day now, parcel delivery man will come. That's my 10 books. And I think, well, I'm not anything in Hartlepool United, but I've done that. And, it's fantastic. So what a privilege. That's what I'm saying. What a privilege.
I should be really proud, Stephen. I can't wait to read it.
Absolutely, it'll be an excellent read for everyone. I've seen a lot of comments on socials where you've been promoting the book. It's been received very well so far, and I imagine they'll be flying off the shelves, or the virtual shelves, as they were these days. I mean, it's a shame to lose bookshops, but it does seem to be moving on websites these days, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, what I would say on that subject, Jack, is you very kindly mentioned bookshops. It can be ordered in bookshops, any bookshop, but Pitch Publishing, the publishers, they're called Pitch Publishing. And they also have a direct link. You go on their website, Pitch Publishing, and you just search for this book, Poolies at Heart, or put my name in. They'll sell it to you directly if you don't fancy going to a bookshop. So it's pretty easy to come by.
Yes, absolutely. And just typing it into Google as well, there's plenty of ways to buy it there. You've got, as you say, the likes of Pitch Publishing, the Times Bookshop have it there. Amazon, of course, have it. The usual, the usual juggernaut. Waterstones, of course, have it. Who we all know. Smiths have it as well. I mean, they're disappearing a bit, Smiths, aren't they, these days? But they are still there, so they are selling it as well. As I said, there's plenty of ones there to get it off wherever you get your usual books these days. Have you put in the book about how you were speaking to Danny Wilson?
Yeah. I was speaking to Rob Law the other day on Radio Tees. And,
Available
Danny
on BBC
Wilson.
Sounds, yes.
Yeah. Danny Wilson very kind. I mean, he's been very generous with his time and his reminiscing. But we'd arranged for Danny to ring me. So he rang me, and I was shopping at the time. I had to carry a bag full of cabbages and vegetables and all kinds of things. Now, bless his heart, Danny, I think it might have been my fault. I might have misled him. He thought that was the interview, that phone call. And I was kind of saying, no, Danny, hang on. I'll wait till I'll speak to you later. But he just carried on. And I'm standing in a shop, we carry a bag of vegetables between my feet, thinking, oh, heck, this is an actual interview. I'm not going to get this again. So Danny, bless his heart, full of stories about players and the season and his feelings and the record-breaking run and all that, promotion and behind-the-scenes stuff. Great contribution from him, as you would expect, being the man he is. And I had to kind of more or less memorize it. You can't stand in Morrison's and record things. And I didn't really know how to be honest. I'd have preferred something like this that we're doing now. However, I hope I've done Danny justice, because he deserves that. And I tried to cobble it together. So what I did, I remembered bits, then I Googled them to see if I'd remembered correctly, kind of, if I'm honest, made the story up. But not telling any lies, not exaggerating anything, is pretty much what he said, but just not word for word. So if Danny Wilson ever gets hold of a copy of the book, I hope he can forgive me, but he thought that was the actual interview, and it wasn't actually. I was shopping. So, however, it's all worked out well.
As I say, to be fair, you could put like a little footnote at the bottom of the page. Please note this may not be word for word, as I was speaking to him in Morrison's over the phone. Just if anyone tries to claim, I did try, but I didn't have any paper with me at the time.
So I'm talking to Jill with a wheelie bin and a pie on, and talking to Danny Wilson in Morrison's, and I'm supposed to be taken seriously as an author. So this is how it really works.
To be fair, I can imagine you meeting up with Ronnie Moore in like a McDonald's or somewhere like that, just bumping into him or something.
Ronnie Moore. Sir Ronnie Moore, The Great Escape and all that. He rang me at home one evening. I was upstairs in my office.
I thought you were going to say you put something in the microwave or something like that,
And I thought I'd be on the phone maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, just getting his ideas, jotting them down as he was speaking. Best part of 3 hours, Ronnie Moore. I thought I'd never see my wife again. It was fantastic. But you ask Ronnie one question, you say, Ronnie, what Hartlepool United? He's off like an encyclopedia. He knows players, he knows results, he knows games, evening matches that everyone else has forgotten. He could tell you where he was, what he was doing, what the weather was like, what colour socks he was wearing. He's an encyclopedia of football. And he's, I don't mean this in any funny way, he's got that Scouse accent, which once he starts talking and really gets into his stride, it's very difficult to follow every word. And so I'm jotting, what did he say there? Who did he mention? And he quotes players' names off the top of his head. He really is a football man through and through, and it's all there. I actually had to change ears holding the phone because my ear was hurting, because I'm talking to Sir Ronnie Moore here. And I said, Ronnie, do you realise I've got a signed picture of you on my wall, a signed picture of Ronnie Moore, which my mum got me? And he couldn't believe anyone would have that of him. He's just in it for the game, to remember the game, to coach. He coaches up in Rotherham. Well, he did anyway. And blah, blah, blah. And he was genuinely surprised I had a framed picture of him on my wall. Incidentally, I've got one of Mancini these days, but I won't mention him again.
Had to get him in again, didn't he?
And you get paid per mention, aren't you?
Like a swear jar. It should be like a Mancini jar. Every time he mentions Mancini, put a fiver in the jar.
Well, no, never again. And I found that quite endearing about Ronnie Moore, because the professional career he's had is brilliant. What he did for Hartlepool was brilliant. And yet he was actually surprised anyone rated him. And I found that very endearing, very touching. And the truth is, I could have written the whole book with what Ronnie Moore gave me in that interview. Absolutely, the whole book, his football career. I might ask him for a biography one day.
I was going to say, there's your next book idea.
No, there's the memoir. Absolutely.
So just tell the publisher it's going to take you another 2 years or so, but you've already got all the material there.
Just hold the phone for. But no, very grateful to Ronnie, and I mean, for me, who am I to be speaking to Ronnie Moore on the phone? That'll do. That's brilliant. So, look, actually, my next book, I've just written to my publishers. Really, honestly, this is true. I was so impressed with some of the stories for this book, Poolies at Heart. So impressed by some of the stories. I've asked the publishers if they'll let me do another one on managers who manage at lower league level with no money, no budget, cheap transfers, you know, the way it is. And I've listed, I think, 4 or 5 Hartlepool managers. This is starting with Fred Westgarth, who I mentioned earlier, from 1957, I think. Neil Cooper, Danny Wilson, Dave Challinor, what's his name? Ronnie Moore. These guys, Brian Clough, of course. And I've asked them if I can do a book called Managing Well, because I don't think those guys get the respect they deserve. It's easy to manage when you've got millions to spend and millions to waste, and a fan base of 60,000 every week. I could do that. But when you've got 2,000-3,000, a tight budget, bargain basement buys, some of the players, they're not really committed to a club like Hartlepool, let's be honest. I want to bring those managers managing well into the spotlight. So if the publishers are listening to this, I need them to agree to that contract.
Well, it sounds a great idea.
Thank you.
Lovely. There's always room for more books about pools.
Pardon?
There's always room for more books about pools.
Yeah, well, that's an added bonus. It's only Hartlepool's managers. I'm not going anywhere else. But credit to those guys. They got some good teams, good results with working with a shoestring, you know. So yeah, they need to be acknowledged.
Isn't it? It's a whole different skill, managing at that level, and like you say, the temperament of some of the players. It's just it's a completely different world to, you know, your Premier League and Championship. So what they have to do to get the results on the pitch is really, like, it just makes you totally admire what Dave Challinor did. Like even more so.
Yeah.
And then see what he's gone on to do. You know, he's repeated it time and time again.
Yeah. Well, the way it works, well, as you may know, with a publisher, if there's a good sales on one book, they'll probably ask for the momentum and say, have you got a second one up your sleeve while this is going well? So anybody listening to this podcast, if you want to see a second Hartlepool book on the shelves, it depends on sales figures on the first. So there's a big plug. That's unapologetic there.
No, absolutely.
And Jill's in the book. I mean, if you're not going to buy it for that reason, then.
Backhanded compliment there. I felt that.
I know, yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. And if you are going to do the sequel book on managers, make sure Danny Wilson knows, when and when to call you this time. And if you're going to be in Morrison's again, make sure you take your dictaphone along.
Yeah. And
you won't have to put the footnote in the book this time.
Terrible.
Hey, well, you got the words off him though, and that's all that matters for the book.
Yeah, thank you.
On Monday the 28th. From all of the websites I've listed, all your local bookstores, etc. there, and from Pitch Publishing directly, as you've rightly stated as well. Stephen, Jill, thank you very much for being with me this week. As we've said, Nicky Featherstone's Testimonial on Saturday. Do get yourself there if you're not already going. And Stephen, your book out on Monday, as we've just said as well. Make sure you get buying, because there may well be a sequel book in the pipeline. And as is the way of the world these days, you know, money talks. And if it's selling well, you never know, we might get Danny Wilson Part 2, the Asda edition this time. For want of a better word. And I say, Jill, obviously you'll be there on Saturday. Stephen, I think you've returned down south, haven't you? So you...
Well, my daughter's getting married on Saturday. So
I mean, that's fine. That's why Zoom
Very
exists.
good reason.
Yeah.
We'll
Otherwise, I was going to come up actually, and then I actually looked in my diary, and then I saw my daughter was getting married, so I thought, oh yeah, I knew there was a reason.
Yeah, well, to be fair,
off.
if there's ever a reason, I think to be fair, you've probably nailed
Very
it. I'd imagine. But yeah, good luck with that, and good luck with the book as well, Jill. Hopefully,
Thank you.
we'll see a good send off for Nicky Featherstone on Saturday as well. Thank
Not
you.
sending him off. Send him.
Well,
not send him off.
Send him off.
Send
That's
off.
a good point. That I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Sorry.
I hope he doesn't hear that, by the way.
Send him off. That's what the edit button's for.
Yeah.
No. I'm only joking. No, he can.
Very good celebration.
A celebration. Yeah. That's right.
Celebration. There you go.
Yeah, I want him to come on here at some point. I don't want him to hear that. Yeah, sorry, Nicky, if you're listening. Oh God, that was awful. Anyway,
celebrating Hartlepool United's finest.
There we go.
Yeah, celebrating the finest. That's good. Well, thank you very much, guys. Hopefully, it will be.
Thank you very much.
A good, not a send off, but a good celebration of Nicky Featherstone on Saturday. Well, thank you very much, guys.